Hello everyone, I'm Hooray and welcome back to my channel. I wanted to start out this video by thanking everyone for going and watching my roundup video for my Elite Specialization Speculation playlist. It was huge. It completely, I'm almost at 1,000 views on it, which blows me away. And I just want to say thank you very much for everyone that commented and watched and subscribed. I am hugely impressed by the response to that, and I hope that we can keep on going with this. But I just wanted to start this video by saying that and really showing that I appreciate everyone taking the time to watch the video. So let's get into the video, which today we're going to talk about a wish list that I would like to send to ArenaNet. I'm not going to actually physically send the wish list, but I want to have a wish list. It's Christmas, and this is my wish to ArenaNet for End of Dragons. I want to start out with an honorable mention. I just revised my list a little bit because there's something very important that I thought of that I'm going to talk about, but my honorable mention was engine improvements. We've been talking about latency, and that's been plaguing the game for over a year now. I want to say it's been really bad on season 4 maps, especially on the European servers, and it's definitely something that I think ArenaNet needs to fix. And there's also DirectX 12 that I want to talk about. There was, in the community, someone released a tool that you can apply to your game to kind of make it run on it. I'm not sure on the technical ways on how this works, but it was huge because it made a lot of people really happy because it made them be able to run the game and actually come back and play the game. And I think that there is a huge demand for something like this. I think this is really something that ArenaNet needs to look at. Their game is now 8.5 years old, and it runs bad even on newer machines and things like that. So it's something that I think ArenaNet really needs to look at. And we had the action camera that was beforehand was a tool made by the community too, and then they incorporated it and put it into the game, which I think was received very highly. I use it all the time, and I think it would be even bigger for something like that, you know, having any type of engine improvements. And the latency has turned me off from going back to season 4 maps. Anytime I go, it's really horrible, and it's just something that I think they really need to look at. So that's my honorable mention. I don't think the reason I didn't want to put it on the list because I don't know how likely those things are to happen. The latency is something I think they're working on, but specifically a new engine or improvements or whatever to the engine, I don't think it's gonna happen. So my number 10 was a rework of older skills, and there is one particular skill that comes to mind that has been plaguing me for years now, and that's Freezing Gust, which is the Elementalist Water Attunement Focus 4 skill. It is really bad. It does a little bit of damage, and it does a little bit of chill, and it has a really long cooldown. It's things like that I look at. You know, it's a core skill. It doesn't really do anything. I mean, focus is really a niche type of weapon anyways on the Elementalist, but specifically, I know water is maybe not the main one that people use focus for, but I think that there's other skills that they could make improvements for. And this was just one that I thought of, and I think that there's definitely other skills that could use that treatment, and I think it was something that would attract people that have left and that they're thinking about coming back. And so I think that that's worthy to put on the list. So it was my number 10. My number 9 is something that's been highly discussed, and it's the Alliance update. Now, this is something that has been talked about a lot, okay? And there's not much that I can say that hasn't been said. It's something that really has been promised to us. There's been updates on it. This is something that they have talked about for a long period of time and then completely stopped for the last 2 years. And it's something that needs to happen. I think it would be huge for the World versus World mode, and just for the people that really like the mode and want to come back. I'm on Blackade, and even I see that a lot of the population has been dwindling. I mean, Blackade is one of the bigger servers in World vs. World and stuff, and it's just really something that I think we as a community want. That, you know, we want, give us an update on the Alliance update. Tell us what's going on with it. If it's been dropped, then just tell us this. But it's been just hanging in the air, and I think it would be something that we would love to see come with End of Dragons. So my number 8 was something that I think might be a little controversial for people, but it's a rework or improvements of the Mastery system. We're looking into getting up to like 400 now, and I just think it's just becoming too much. We're getting all these masteries that work on one map, and then we move on 3 months later to a new map and completely forget about these masteries and stuff. There's so many good ones they had. You know, I'm specifically thinking about the Draconis Mons one with the vines and stuff. Wouldn't it be great if we could go back to the Aquawild Forest and use those vines to climb up into the cathedrals of the Kurzicks in the Aquawild Forest? I think it would be really amazing. I think reworking the system and making these masteries, have us improve on these masteries. We don't necessarily need to get new ones, but you know, instead of being able to carry 3, let me carry 5 if I get the next level of the mastery. I'm specifically thinking again of the vine one, but there's different things that they can work on, and I just think it's becoming so bloated. There's so many different things, and a lot of them are just, they're not going to have a use. I mean, you know, we're looking at a lot of the ones from the recent Icebrute Saga and stuff, and there's a lot of char specific ones, and it's like, are we going to see those? Are we going to use those again? Probably not. I don't think so. But the way station is pretty nice. I do like that because it's something that you can carry around with you and stuff like that. But again, I think it's just becoming, we're in the 400s. You know, we're getting to the 400s now, and it's just, to me, it's a little bit crazy, and I don't think that that's what it was supposed to be. It was supposed to be a horizontal progression system, and it's just not that. So I would like to see a rework or some improvements done to that. My number 7 is something that again might be not as important to other people. I like the lore of the game. I'm huge on the story, and that's the reason why I stayed with the game for so long. It's just because I'm huge on the story, and I love the characters, and I love everything that they're doing with it. And yes, it does have its faults, and it does sometimes not really go anywhere with it, or they might just not tie loose ends up. But overall, I like the story, and I think the characters are pretty great. So number 7 is Celestials and the Oracle and how they tie into dragons. These are characters from the factions campaign for Guild Wars 1, and they were in Cantha, where we're going now, and they were semi-important characters, and I think that there's some kind of story that we don't know, and maybe ArenaNet back then didn't know, but there's a lot of things that they can tie into the dragons, and I'm gonna make a more specific video on this actually, because I have a lot of thoughts on this, but I really hope that they're giving them a proper place in the story, and I think there's a lot of things, a lot of mystery that they could use to actually improve on the story of the dragons. So I think that that's something I would really like to see. So, and then my number 6 was going to be underwater weapons. So I made a whole list on elite specializations and how the weapons and things like that, and I think 2 of them had underwater weapons, maybe 3, I'm not exactly sure, but it's definitely something that I want to see, you know, having the underwater weapons come on land. That's definitely something I want to see. It's been something that's been asked about, and I think it's something that would be really smart on ArenaNet's side. There was a comment left on one of my videos, and we talked about how I would feel about that. And one of my arguments was that the underwater weapon legendaries are amazing. They're really pretty and they're really cool, and they're not used that often because underwater is just not huge anymore. It was in the beginning, and for a little bit they have been trying to improve on it and things like that with the swim speed and the rework of some of the skills and stuff. But bringing those weapons on land would just be really cool. It'll give it a lot more diversity in weapons too, because on that same video we had talked about in the video about how I felt that melee staff was exhausted, which maybe that exact statement is not true because we only have 2 melee users, but what I really meant was that staff on its own has been very exhausted because 7 out of 9 classes can use staff, and I think that bringing these underwater weapons on land just creates a little bit more diversity, so not everyone has access to every weapon. So I think there's good reasons for ArenaNet to do that. So then my number 5 was something that is definitely something that has been talked about a lot in the community, and it's having the Tengu as a playable race. I don't know how likely it's going to be that we're getting them, but this is a wish list, so I can just add whatever I want to it, really. But I would love to see it anyways. I think it would revitalize the game in a big way. It would bring a lot of veterans back. It would bring a lot of new people to it. It's a huge selling point, and I think it was something that Heart of Thorns did great because we got a whole new class with Heart of Thorns, and I think that the Revenant brought in a lot of people that had left the game before it and brought in a lot of new people that might have been exactly looking for a class like this. So I think having a race of bird people is something that ArenaNet should really look into investing. It's the perfect opportunity for them to do that right now because they're putting their focus back into Guild Wars 2, and it's a perfect opportunity because there's a new expansion coming out. So I think that's something that they need to look at. I think it ties right into the next point too a little bit, which is a proper storyline. And by that I mean, we look at Heart of Thorns, which the storyline was pretty decent. I want to say it was a pretty good story, but you could see that there were certain instances that were left out and that ArenaNet just kind of scrapped because they were under crunch. And we look at Path of Fire, which had a great story, but I think that even with the great story that Path of Fire did have, one thing that kind of bugged me is that we had these huge maps because we introduced mounts, but then we didn't even use like half of the maps for the instances. And I feel like there was so much potential in these maps to go to different places and see different things with Dragon's Watch and with the characters that we had. And we just didn't go there. We would go to one end of the map and have an instance, and then the next instance was way across the other side of the map. And I feel like there was missed opportunities. It could have been longer, it could have been more interesting, they could have done a lot more twists and turns with it and really have a nice build up. I think the end of it on how we're trying to fight Balthazar with the Awaken and stuff, that to me felt a little rushed in a way. I think we could have done more with it. But yeah, I think overall I gotta say the stories on both expansions was great, but it's just something that I want them to take their time, and I want them to have a story that I'm not gonna just run through in a matter of 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. I want something that is gonna take me like a week or two to really play through. That would be my wish. I don't know how feasible it is. I know that ArenaNet has a lot, they're stretched pretty thin on a lot of things, but that's definitely something that I would like to see, is a really extensive, nice, deep storyline. Alright, going down to the top 3 here. I think these are things that a lot of people are gonna be asking for, expecting maybe almost for End of Dragons. Number 3 is replayability, and by that we're talking about meta events for maps, world bosses, and achievements. So those 3 things I think are the biggest ones, as well as maybe doing hard mode on story instances, maybe where you can get extra rewards or extra achievements or something. But that's definitely something that those 3 things, if we get a really good world boss, if we get really good meta events for the maps. Path of Fire was not big on that, and it's just one of the reasons why a lot of people haven't been going back. Replayability, really, I feel like we should talk about adventures or races for the mount races, or even bounties. That's something that was brought in and was kind of carried through season 4 and then just kind of dropped off. There wasn't huge rewards for it. There wasn't like, okay, do this bounty, do certain amount of bounties every week to collect some kind of currency so you can get a special weapon set or something. There wasn't really that much that brought people to play these kinds of things, and I think that that's a lost opportunities there. Adventures were so much fun in Heart of Thorns, and in Path of Fire they were all just pretty much run around the map and hit these checkpoints and then go back to the first point, and that's just so boring. But you know, it's something that I think they need to look at: the adventures, the mountain races, and the bounties and meta events and world bosses and achievements. If they can get a decent amount of them in there and have them be really fun and interesting for replayability, and it actually goes into the next point too. So my number 2 was good rewards. So for those points that I was talking about earlier on point 3, give us good rewards, give us weapon sets, give us armors. I think Path of Fire is pretty good with it. There was a lot of weapon and armor pieces. There were a lot of different things that you could get with it, and I would like to see that come back. Maybe for adventures, like I said, maybe for mount races, maybe for bounties or something. For the world boss, of course, having a weapon set for the world boss would be great, but don't just give us Black Lion chest weapons and stuff like that, Black Lion Company weapons and stuff. I understand that that's their main way of making money is through the Black Lion Company, you know, the gem store and stuff, and I just really want them to put some really good rewards in there, and don't just do, oh, here's an outfit and here's an outfit that you can buy in the gem store. Give us like a way to earn these armors and these weapons and stuff like that. I think that would be huge on people, especially for replayability, for getting new people interested and stuff like that. If there's a lot of stuff to work towards, this expansion can last a long time, and they don't necessarily need to sweat about, oh, what are we going to do with Living World Season 6? So, and then my last point, and for me, my biggest point, is a great ending to the dragon story. We're talking about End of Dragons, and this is something, you know, whether you like the story about the dragons or not, this is something that we've been working with for over 10 years. I mean, this started with Eye of the North in Guild Wars 1, where we saw Primordus and stuff like that. No, we saw Kralkator's sleeping body. It's something that we've been, as fans, as a community, we've been dealing with this for 10 years now, and over 10 years, longer than 10 years. And I really want them to get a really good conclusion. Give Aurene her perfect place, make her something very important to the story. You know, she's something that we've been nurturing, and something that she's like one of the main characters now and stuff. Give her a really good place in the world. Don't just, oh, she's a dragon so she has to die too, and all of our effort was for nothing. I would probably really hate that. And when we talk about mother, like whose mother, give us a good story about that. Just and maybe have it lead into something else. Is this going to be the end for Guild Wars 2? We don't know. Is there another game coming after? Are they just gonna completely talk about other things? We don't know, but again, give us a good lead into something else and make us excited for other things that are gonna happen after we're done with the End of Dragons deal. And yeah, and I think that to me is a very important point, because I don't just look towards the expansion, but I also look towards what is the future going to be for Guild Wars 2. And it's a game I love. I've been playing a lot of it, and whether you love or hate it, I mean, if it's a franchise you've been following, I think we can all agree that we just want a really good end to the story. I think a lot of us are happy going towards the end of the dragon story. A lot of people are just sick and tired of it, and they don't want to deal with it, and they want to deal with other things. And it's a perfect opportunity, but make it feel really satisfying, and give us really good closure on it, and make it really like satisfying that, you know, we're done and this is a great end to it, and perfectly how it ended, and now we're ready to, I don't know, find other continents on Tyria and solve their problems or whatever is going on with it. So, but yeah, that's all I had for this video. It's fairly long, so I appreciate all of you guys watching and listening and commenting and subscribing. I'm really happy with how that's been going, so thank you all so much. And like I said, there's a video about Celestials and the Oracle that I want to do, and I hope everyone has a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays, you know, whatever it is that you guys celebrate, and, you know, stay safe out there, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Alright, bye guys.